It was an ordinary morning at the Citibank, and everything felt just as busy as usual. The doors opened at exactly 9 o'clock, and already there was a small crowd forming inside. People stood in line with their bank slips and checks, some looking at their phones, others quietly talking to each other. The sound of typing and voices filled the air. Amanda, a bank clerk who had worked there for 3 years, was at her usual post behind the counter. She liked her job most days, but mornings were always a bit stressful. There were always too many people and too many questions, and sometimes it felt like everything moved too slowly. Amanda noticed a man in line who seemed different from the others. He was a tall black man, well-dressed in a dark blue suit and polished shoes. He carried a plain brown folder tucked under his arm and had a gentle, calm expression on his face. He didn't fidget or seem impatient, but he did look around the bank as if he was quietly studying the space, almost like he was searching for something or someone. As the line moved forward, Amanda's eyes kept returning to him. She felt her own patience running thin as customers asked her complicated questions about their accounts or lost ATM cards. Finally, the man in the blue suit reached the front of the line. But instead of stepping directly to Amanda's counter, he paused for a moment, as if he was waiting for someone to greet him or direct him somewhere. Amanda, already feeling frustrated, raised her voice just enough so the people nearby could hear. "Excuse me, sir? Are you here to do any banking? If you're just blocking the line, please step aside for the next customer." Her tone was sharp, but she didn't mean to sound rude. She just wanted the line to keep moving. The man looked surprised for only a moment. He replied softly, "I have an appointment here today. I need to speak to someone in management." His voice was calm, and his eyes were kind. He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He simply explained himself, hoping Amanda would listen. But Amanda was tired of hearing excuses. In her mind, this was just another person trying to get ahead of the line or make things difficult. She replied, "Sir, if you don't have a deposit or withdrawal to make, please step aside. Their customers are waiting." She glanced at the people behind him, some of whom were already shifting uncomfortably and looking at their watches. Without a word, the man nodded. He stepped away from the counter and moved to the side of the lobby, standing quietly with his folder. Some of the people in line watched the exchange, but nobody said anything. To most, it just looked like a small misunderstanding or a little bit of bad customer service. No one knew anything more. Behind the counter, Amanda's coworker, James, noticed the situation. James was younger and still new to the job, but he had a good sense for when something felt off. He had seen the man enter the bank and watched him in the line. Something about the man's calmness and the way he carried himself made James think. He wasn't just a regular customer. James thought, why didn't he get upset or angry? Why is he waiting so patiently? But he didn't say anything. He just kept an eye on the man as he waited quietly by the wall. Meanwhile, Amanda turned back to her work. She processed transactions and answered more questions, but in the back of her mind she felt uneasy. She wondered if she had been too quick to judge, but she also believed she was just doing her job. She told herself that the bank had rules, and people needed to follow them. Otherwise, chaos would take over the branch. Outside, the city was getting even busier. People hurried along the sidewalks, delivery trucks came and went, and sirens could be heard in the distance. Inside the bank, things moved on. Amanda didn't notice that the man who had been asked to leave was now making a phone call from just outside the glass doors. He spoke in a quiet voice, mentioning the bank and the way he was treated. He sounded disappointed but not angry, and he listened carefully as the person on the other end of the line gave him instructions. Back inside, a few customers who had watched the interaction began to whisper to each other. An older woman said softly, "He seemed polite. Maybe he really did have an appointment." Another customer, a young woman with a baby stroller, shrugged and said, "The clerks are always strict in the morning. Maybe they were just following the rules." The conversation died down quickly, and soon nobody thought much more about it. But for James, the new bank worker, the situation stayed on his mind. He watched as the man outside finished his call and stood near the bank's entrance, looking calm and steady. James felt that something important had just happened, but he didn't know what. He wondered if he should mention it to the branch manager, Ms. Patel, who was in her office handling paperwork and calls. Too busy to notice what had gone on in the lobby. Amanda, meanwhile, kept serving customers, pushing the uneasy feeling away. She told herself again that she had done nothing wrong, but deep down, she wondered if maybe she should have listened a little longer to the man in the blue suit. The line continued to move, and the day went on. But something in the air had changed, even if nobody quite realized it yet. As the bank clock ticked towards noon, the man outside continued to wait. He stood tall and patient, the plain folder still tucked under his arm. He was not angry, and he didn't make a scene. He simply waited, watching the people come and go, knowing that sometimes the most important things in life happen quietly, while everyone else is too busy to notice. The morning that had started so normally for Amanda and everyone in the bank was about to take a very unexpected turn, one that would teach the whole branch a lesson they would never forget. But for now, nobody knew what was coming, and everyone simply carried on, as if this was just another regular day at the city bank. Amanda kept working at her desk, moving quickly from one customer to the next. Her hands were steady, but her thoughts were not. Every so often, her mind returned to the tall man in the blue suit. She tried to tell herself it didn't matter. She had followed the rules, and the man wasn't a regular customer. Still, there was a small feeling in her heart, a gentle voice telling her maybe she should have listened more carefully. The other clerks in the bank, like Priya and David, noticed Amanda seemed distracted. During a short break, Amanda shared, "What happened with them? There was this guy just standing in line, not saying anything. I told him to step aside because he was blocking everyone. He said he had an appointment with management, but he didn't show me anything. But we can't. Just let people stand there, right?" Priya nodded and said, "You did the right thing. It's so busy today. We have to be strict." David agreed. People try all kinds of things to get ahead in line. Maybe he was lost. Their words made Amanda feel a bit better, but she couldn't forget the man's quiet eyes and polite tone. She wondered if he was still waiting outside. When she glanced toward the entrance, she saw him standing there, calm and patient, watching through the glass. Meanwhile, outside, Marcus, the man in the blue suit, stood in the shade. He watched the cars drive by and people walk in and out of the bank. He didn't look angry or upset. Instead, he seemed to be thinking deeply about what had happened. In his hand, he held his phone. He spoke softly into it. "Yes, I'm at the branch. I was told to wait. They asked me to leave the line, so I'm standing outside now." The voice on the other end of the call told him to wait, and that someone would call the branch soon. Inside the bank, a few customers remembered the scene. An elderly man whispered to his wife, "He looked important. Maybe he was here on business." His wife replied, "I thought so too. But you know how people can be these days. Maybe the clerk was just doing her job." Another woman, waiting in line with her teenage son, said, "That's why I don't like coming to the bank. There's always some trouble." Amanda tried to forget the whole thing and focused on her work. But James, the new worker, couldn't let it go. He kept looking over at the man standing outside. James felt like something was off, but he didn't know what. He decided to ask Amanda, did he say who his appointment was with? Amanda shook her head. "No, he just said management. If he had a real meeting, he should have told us ahead of time." James nodded, but he still felt unsure. At the same time, in her small office, at the back, Ms. Patel, the branch manager, was dealing with phone calls and paperwork. She was busy going through reports and approving transactions. When Priya came in to give her some documents, she mentioned what happened earlier. Amanda had to ask a man to leave the line. Said he was here for a meeting, but he didn't explain much. Ms. Patel nodded. "All right, I'll check into it later. Thanks, Priya." She trusted Amanda and the other clerks, so she wasn't too worried. Back in the lobby, Amanda's story began to spread among the workers. Some thought she was right. Others wondered if it was a misunderstanding. The staff started to talk about how difficult customers could be and how they had to be careful about security and rules. But James still felt strange about the whole situation. He remembered the man's calm smile and the way he never argued or raised his voice. As the hours passed, Marcus remained outside. He checked his phone from time to time, waiting patiently. Occasionally someone would come out of the bank and glance at him, but nobody said anything. He stood tall and dignified, not wanting to cause any trouble. To pass the time, he looked at the small garden next to the entrance and watched a group of sparrows hopping around inside. Amanda tried to push away the feeling that something was wrong. She started telling herself a different story, one where she was the hero for keeping the line moving and making sure everyone followed the rules. It's just one of those days, she thought. I can't worry about every little thing. Around lunchtime, the bank was even more crowded. People came in on their breaks, and the line got longer. Amanda noticed some customers glancing toward the entrance, maybe wondering why the man in the blue suit was still there. She could feel the curiosity building, but nobody said anything out loud. One customer, an older lady named Mrs. Thompson, decided to speak up as she finished her business at Amanda's counter. "Dear, I think you might have been a bit hard on that gentleman earlier. He seemed polite to me." Amanda tried to smile and replied, "I was just following the rules, ma'am. It's always busy here." Mrs. Thompson nodded but left the bank shaking her head, feeling like maybe something important had been missed. As time passed, Amanda's coworkers also started to wonder. Priya said, "Do you think he's still waiting for someone?" David shrugged. "If he is, they're taking a long time." James stayed quiet, but kept an eye on Marcus, feeling more convinced something big was about to happen. Outside, Marcus got another phone call. He listened carefully, nodded, and ended the call. He straightened his suit, looked up at the bank sign, and took a deep breath. Right. He knew that patience was important, and that sometimes being calm and respectful could speak louder than words. Meanwhile, Ms. Patel finished her last call and finally had a moment to check her emails. She noticed one from the Federal Reserve Regional Office, with a message about a special visitor who would arrive for a compliance check. The email didn't give a name, but it made her pause, as she started to worry what if they had already arrived and been turned away. She decided to check with the front desk. Ms. Patel walked out into the lobby and saw Amanda working at her desk. "Amanda, was there anyone here this morning asking for management or saying they had an appointment?" Amanda hesitated for a moment before replying, "Yes, there was a man in a blue suit. He said he needed to see someone in management, but he didn't say who. I asked him to step aside because the line was busy." Ms. Patel frowned. "Is he still here?" Amanda pointed toward the entrance, and Ms. Patel saw Marcus standing outside, looking as calm as ever. A feeling of worry swept over Ms. Patel. She hurried outside and approached Marcus. "Excuse me, sir? May I help you?" Marcus smiled politely and handed her a business card. The card had the Federal Reserve's logo on it, with his name and title printed clearly. Ms. Patel's eyes widened as she realized who he was. "I'm so sorry for the confusion. Please, come inside." Amanda watched from the counter as Ms. Patel led Marcus back into the bank, suddenly feeling a wave of embarrassment. The customers who had seen what happened earlier now realized the man was someone important. Whispers started again, and the atmosphere in the bank shifted. Some people looked at Amanda, others just stared at Marcus, wondering what he would say or do next. James finally felt relief. His instincts had been right. Priya and David exchanged glances, unsure of what to say. Amanda felt her cheeks grow warm, and she wished she had listened a little more carefully that morning. She realized that sometimes a person's story isn't written on their face, and everyone deserves respect, no matter how busy the day might be. As Ms. Patel and Marcus disappeared into her office, Amanda returned to her desk, her mind full of questions and regrets. She understood that this ordinary day at the bank was quickly turning into one she would remember for a very long time. Ms. Patel led Marcus through the bank's busy lobby toward her office. As they passed by the customers and staff, a quiet buzz seemed to follow them. People who had ignored Marcus earlier now stared with curiosity and some embarrassment. Amanda watched them go, feeling her heart beat a little faster. She wondered what would happen next and what Ms. Patel was going to say. Inside her office, Ms. Patel closed the door and offered Marcus a seat. She was still a little nervous, but she wanted to be as polite as possible. "Thank you for your patience, Mr. Johnson. I apologize for any misunderstanding at the front. How can I help you today?" she asked, her voice warm but anxious. Smiled gently. He placed his folder on her desk and handed her an official letter. The letter had the seal of the Federal Reserve and a detailed agenda for the day. It explained that Marcus Johnson was sent for a surprise audit, which meant he was checking the bank's operations and how they treated all kinds of customers, including unexpected visitors. Ms. Patel's eyes grew wide as she read the letter. She had heard of these secret audits. She had never experienced one at her branch before. Marcus spoke in a calm, quiet voice. I'm here to review your branch's service, security, and customer handling. Part of my job is to see how staff treat people who might not look or act like a regular customer. It's important for banks to welcome everyone with respect, no matter how busy it is. His words were gentle, but Ms. Patel understood the serious message behind them. She nodded, feeling both embarrassed and worried. I understand, sir. Please, let me show you around and answer any questions you have. She quickly called James to her office to help guide Marcus through the bank. When James entered, he tried to hide his excitement. He had suspected Marcus was someone important, and now felt relieved he hadn't judged him harshly. Ms. Patel began the tour, showing Marcus the different areas of the branch, the customer service desks, the safety deposit rooms, and the cash counters. Marcus asked thoughtful questions about staff training, security, and how the bank helped customers with special needs. He spoke with a few workers, including Priya and David. They answered his questions honestly, though they were a bit nervous, knowing who he really was now. Back in the lobby, Amanda felt her stomach twist with worry. She whispered to Priya, Is he going to get us in trouble? Priya shrugged. I don't know, but he seemed very calm. Just do your best. Amanda watched the clock, waiting for the tour to finish. Every customer who came in now felt like a test. She did her best to be extra polite, but she couldn't shake the nervous feeling. As Marcus and Ms. Patel returned to her office, he asked, To review the bank's customer service records and staff training materials, Ms. Patel quickly provided everything he requested. Marcus read through the papers carefully, making notes in his folder. He thanked Ms. Patel for her help and explained that he would write a full report on his visit. Your staff are dedicated and hardworking, he said, but it's important to remember that every person who walks through your door deserves patience and respect. Sometimes even small actions can make a big difference. Ms. Patel listened closely, feeling a mix of relief and worry. She promised to speak with all her employees about the morning's mistake. She apologized again for how Marcus was treated when he first arrived. Marcus nodded. Thank you for your honesty. I know mornings can be difficult, but what matters most is how you learn from these moments. When Marcus left Ms. Patel's office, he walked through the lobby with quiet confidence. Customers noticed him, and some even smiled, sensing he was a person with authority. Amanda saw him coming and took a deep breath. As Marcus passed her counter, she gave him a respectful nod. Marcus smiled back, his eyes kind, showing he held no anger. He understood that everyone could make a mistake, but he hoped Amanda would remember this day and change her approach in the future. Word about Marcus's visit spread quickly among the bank staff. Some workers felt embarrassed, others were curious about what would happen next. James, still feeling relieved, said to Amanda, See, I knew he was important. Glad Ms. Patel talked to him before things got worse. Amanda nodded, feeling grateful for James's gentle words. Later that afternoon, Ms. Patel gathered all the staff for a short meeting. She explained what had happened and told them about Marcus's true role. She didn't name anyone directly, but everyone knew Amanda had been the one to send Marcus out of the line. Ms. Patel reminded the team, We must treat every person with respect, no matter how busy we are or how someone looks. Our job is to serve the public, every single person. The staff listened quietly. Some felt worried about the future, afraid the bank would get in trouble. Others felt ashamed for not speaking up earlier. Amanda sat quietly, thinking about her actions. She remembered how Marcus had stayed calm and respectful, even after being asked to leave. She realized now that she should have listened more and judged less. Meanwhile, Marcus finished his report. He wrote about the branch's good points and also about the mistake that happened at the counter. He explained that he had been treated with kindness once the manager knew who he was, but he had felt unwelcome at first. His words were honest but fair. He believed people could grow and learn from their mistakes. As evening came and the bank prepared to close, Amanda stayed behind. For a few minutes, tidying up her desk, she saw Ms. Patel walking by and asked quietly, "Do you think I made a big mistake?" Ms. Patel looked at her and smiled gently. "Amanda, we all make mistakes. What matters is that we learn from them." "I believe you will," Amanda nodded, feeling both relieved and determined to do better. Outside, Marcus walked to his car, feeling hopeful. He knew that sometimes change started with just one small lesson A moment, when someone realized they could be better. He trusted that the branch would learn from today and become more welcoming for every person who visited. As the last customers left the bank and the staff finished their work, a new sense of understanding settled over everyone. They all knew something important had happened that day, something that would help them grow, both as workers and as people. And for Amanda, it was the start of a new way of thinking, one that would stay with her for a very long time. After Marcus left the bank, the news about the incident spread quickly, not just inside the branch, but all the way up to the bank's headquarters. Federal Reserve, which was responsible for the surprise visit and audit, sent an official report to the bank's top leaders. The report praised Marcus for his professionalism and calm behavior, but it also noted the mistake made by the bank clerk Amanda. When she asked Marcus to step aside without understanding his role, the bank's senior management was concerned. They called Ms. Patel for a meeting to discuss what had happened. Ms. Patel explained everything in detail, from the moment Marcus arrived to how Amanda had handled the situation. She was honest and took responsibility for the confusion, but she also emphasized how busy the branch was and how the staff often felt pressure to keep things moving. The senior managers listened carefully. They understood that mistakes could happen, especially in a busy place like a bank. However, they also knew that respect and fairness were very important, especially for a bank that served many different kinds of people. They decided to take action to make sure nothing like this would happen again. Amanda was called into a private meeting with Ms. Patel and a senior manager named Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins was kind but firm. He explained the seriousness of the situation and how the bank's reputation was at risk. Amanda listened carefully. She felt nervous, but also grateful that she was being treated with respect. Mr. Collins told her that the bank would help her improve and learn from this experience. After the meeting, Amanda was enrolled in a special training program about customer service and diversity. The training focused on teaching staff how to treat every customer with kindness, patience, and respect. It also explained how to recognize unconscious bias, the way people sometimes judge others without realizing it. Amanda found the classes eye-opening. She realized that sometimes she had made quick decisions without fully understanding the situation, and she wanted to change that. Meanwhile, James and the other staff members also took part in the training. The whole branch learned about the importance of empathy and communication, Priya said. "I never thought about how my own feelings could affect the way I treat customers." David added, "It's easy to get tired and stressed, but we have to remember that every person deserves respect." The bank also updated its policies. They made sure that if someone came in with a special appointment or official business, staff would know exactly how to handle it without causing confusion or embarrassment. Ms. Patel made it clear that everyone in the branch was responsible for creating a welcoming environment. Outside the bank, Marcus's report reached the Federal Reserve's regional office. They praised the bank for accepting the feedback and making changes quickly. Marcus was invited to speak at a conference about fair treatment and banking practices. He shared his story with other banks and financial institutions, hoping to encourage kindness and understanding everywhere. Back at the branch, Amanda wrote a letter to Marcus. In the letter, she apologized for the way she had treated him that morning. She thanked him for his patience and said she was committed to becoming a better person and worker. Marcus replied with a warm message, expressing forgiveness and hope for the future. Their exchange became a symbol of how mistakes could be turned into lessons. The customers who often visited the branch noticed the change too. More staff smiled and greeted people warmly. Lines moved more smoothly, and people felt more comfortable asking questions. The bank became known as a place where everyone could feel welcome, no matter who they were. Amanda's confidence grew with every new day. She found joy in helping people and listening carefully to their stories. She thought back to that morning and realized how much she had learned about patience and respect. She hoped her story would inspire others to pause, listen, and treat every person with kindness. Ms. Patel was proud of her team. She held regular meetings to remind everyone of the importance of their work. "We are not just handling money," she said. "We are serving people. Our kindness can change lives." And so, the bank branch changed, not just in rules and training, but in spirit. What started as a difficult morning with a man standing quietly outside became a story of growth, respect, and hope. For Amanda, Marcus, and everyone involved, it was a reminder that understanding and kindness could open doors, heal wounds, and build stronger communities. Days turned into weeks after Marcus's visit, but the lessons learned at the bank stayed alive. The staff worked hard to keep the changes real and lasting. Amanda, in particular, found herself growing in ways she hadn't expected. Every morning, she reminded herself to slow down, to listen more, and to remember that every person walking through the bank's doors had a story worth hearing. One Monday morning, as the sun rose softly over the city, Amanda arrived early too, prepare for the day. The lobby was quiet, and she had a moment to think. She thought back to that first morning when Marcus came in. How nervous she had been, how fast she had judged him. Now, she felt different, stronger, and wiser. As customers began to arrive, Amanda greeted each one with a genuine smile. She noticed a man standing near the entrance, looking unsure. Instead of assuming anything, she walked over and kindly asked, "Can I help you find someone today?" The man looked relieved and said he had an appointment but wasn't sure where to go. Amanda guided him personally, making sure he felt welcome. Across the room, James was helping a woman open a new account. He listened carefully as she explained her needs. He remembered the training and made sure to be patient and respectful. Priya and David worked together, sharing tips on how to keep customers comfortable and happy. News of the bank's positive changes spread through the neighborhood. More people started visiting, trusting that they would be treated fairly and kindly. Some even told stories about how the staff had gone out of their way to help them, making the bank feel like a safe and friendly place. One afternoon, Ms. Patel received a letter from the Federal Reserve praising the branch for its improvement. She shared the letter with her team during a meeting. "This is your success," she said. "You have shown what respect and kindness can do. Keep it up." Amanda felt proud, but knew there was still work to do. She kept learning about how to overcome unconscious bias and how to treat every person with dignity. She knew that real change came from inside each person's heart. Marcus's role also continued to inspire. He visited other banks, sharing his story and encouraging them to create welcoming spaces for everyone. He believed that respect and fairness should be at the heart of all banking and business. One day, Marcus returned to the branch to see the changes for himself. Amanda and Ms. Patel greeted him warmly. Marcus smiled and said, "I see the difference. This is a place where everyone belongs now." Amanda felt tears in her eyes. She thanked him for teaching her to be better. The bank's story became more than just about one man or one mistake. It became a story about hope, growth, and the power of kindness. It reminded everyone that sometimes the smallest moments, like a patient man standing quietly in line, could change many lives. For Amanda, James, Ms. Patel, and all the staff, the lesson was clear. Every person deserves respect. Every story matters. And by opening their hearts, they could make the world a little brighter one day at a time.